In this video, we're going to learn how to create a nice looking form using PHP and Bootstrap. So the way it's going to work is the user will input their name, email address, and write a message. And then if everything is fine, they'll be able to click on the send message button and send us an email using PHP. And they will be redirected to a thank you page. Okay, so first of all, we are going to create the form using HTML and Bootstrap. And then we're going to write some PHP code to filter the data. So we're going to clean the data and then validate it. If there are any errors, we are going to print an error message just like this. And if everything is fine, we are going to send the email and redirect them to the thank you page. Okay. So first of all, let's start by creating the contact form using HTML and Bootstrap. In the previous videos, we have been using a Bootstrap template, but we didn't really use Bootstrap. We didn't need it at all. So now we need to make sure that Bootstrap is working. So since we're not using a CDN, you can use a CDN if you want to, but since we're not using one, so we are going to make sure that we've got the Bootstrap folders in our workspace. Okay, so if you go to your Fire FTP, just make sure that you copy the folders inside the workspace in there. So I'm going to go to the Bootstrap folder on my computer. And I'm just going to copy the Bootstrap folders from there. Okay, so if you click on the right arrow, you can copy all the folders, and you can see them now on our workspace. Okay, so now we've got Bootstrap up and running, so we can use all the Bootstrap functionalities, and we can build a responsive form. Okay, so in this session, we're going to have plenty of code on our screen. So I'm just going to push the container div to the left so that we can have enough space since I'm using half screen. So we're going to have enough space to write our code, and it's going to be more readable. Okay. So first, to create our form, we are going to create a row, and then we're going to use 10 columns, okay, for our form, and we're going to leave the other 2 outside. Okay, so if you remember, we've got 12 columns in the grid system, so we're going to be using 10, and we're going to leave 2 on the edges. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So first of all, let's have a row. So it's a div of class row. Okay, and then inside the row, we're going to create another div, and let's give it a class. So first of all, we want to skip 1 column, okay, and then use 10 columns. So to do that, we are going to use a class column. So we're going to go for a small screen. So small offset, okay, 1 for 1 column. And then we're going to be using 10 columns. So we're going to do column SM for small and then 10. Okay. All right. And let's add another class, contact form, that we're going to use to style our form. So let's add some styling to our form. So we're going to give it a let's give it a border. So let's give it 1 pixel for the border width. Let's go for a solid style, and let's pick up a purple color for the border, something like this. Okay, let's check. Okay, we don't see anything at the moment because there is no input, there is no content inside it. Okay, anyway, so let's have a heading inside the div saying contact us. And now if we refresh, so you can see our div, let's add a margin top of 50 pixels, for example. Okay, it's loading. Okay, looks fine. Okay, and finally, let's give it a border radius, and let's go, for example, for 15 pixels. So if you refresh the page, that looks nice. And let's just see how it looks in bigger scale. It looks fine. Okay. Okay, so now we are ready to create the form. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. Okay. So you're going to use the form tag. So our form is going to send the inputs to the same file we are working in. So if you want to set the action attributes, you can do that. If you don't, then we're going to be anyway using the same file. Okay. So this file is called 20.contactform.php. Okay, and the method is going to be post. Okay. Okay, so our first input is going to be the name. So we're going to put it inside a form group. Okay. So it's a div of class form group. Okay, and let's have an input there. So it's going to be a text input, so the type is text. We're going to give it a name. Okay, we're going to call it name. And also you're going to give it an ID for the label. I'm going to call it name as well. And a placeholder, if you want to, saying name. Okay. And we need to give it a class form control. Okay. All right. Now let's add a label to this input. We don't really actually need the placeholder, but if you don't want it, you can just leave it for now. Okay, so the label is going to say name. Okay, and it's label for name. So if we check our page, now we've got our first input there. Okay, looks fine. All right, so now let's move to the second input. So email. Let's just copy paste the first one. So the label is going to be for email. The label is email. The type is email. Okay, name email, ID email. Placeholder is going to be email. Okay, and that's it. Okay. And finally, we're going to have the message inputs. So again, we're going to have a form group, and the label is going to be form message. Let's write message there. Okay. And now we're going to need to use a text area, okay, rather than inputs. Text area, and we need to close the tag for text area. Okay. So the we need to give it a class of form control, so that's fine. We need to give it a name and ID as well, but no placeholder. Okay, so the name is going to be message, ID message. Okay, we don't have any type there. Okay, so and let's have the number of rows as well. We can set it to 5. So if you refresh the page, now we've got our message input as well. Okay, and finally, now we're going to add the send message button. Okay, so we can just add an input of type submit, and let's give it a name submit, and we're going to style it using the button and button success classes. Okay, so if we refresh, okay, let's make it bigger and also give it a value send message. So we're going to use the class button large to make it bigger. Okay, and we're going to give it a value send message. So now it should look better. Yeah, it looks exactly the same as the reference form. Okay, so we are done creating the form using HTML and Bootstrap. So now we are ready to filter and validate the user inputs. Now that we have created our form, we are ready to write the PHP code. So our PHP code is going to first check if the user has submitted the form. Then we are going to check if any of the required fields is missing. And then we are going to clean those fields and validate them. If there are any errors, we're going to display an error message just like this. Otherwise, we are going to send the email and redirect the user to the thank you page. So we can see that the error message is displayed right under the header. Okay, so our PHP code is going to go right after the header. So if we go right after the H1 heading, we can write our PHP tag in there and start writing our code. So first of all, let's have a look at the structure of our code. So the way it's going to work is that we are going to check first if the user has submitted the form. Okay. So if yes, then we are going to check if there are any errors. Okay, so we're going to go through all these fields, check if something is missing, or if a certain field is there but not valid. Okay, so we're going to check for errors. So after we checked for errors, then we are going to find out whether we have any errors or not. So if we have, if there is any errors, or if there are any errors, okay. If there are any errors, we are going to print the error message on the screen, okay. Otherwise, if there are no errors, then we are going to send the email, okay. But once we send the email, we're still going to check if the email or the mail has been successful or not. So so we're gonna check if success, okay, then we can redirect the user to the thank you page, okay. But for now, we are still going to print a success message, okay, for now. So we're gonna print success message, okay. Otherwise, if the mail has not been successful, then we are going to print this time a warning message, okay. All right, so let's start our code from the beginning, okay. Or before we do that, we notice that in all cases, we are going to print a message at the end, okay. So a good idea would be to have a variable that we're going to call results message, and we're just going to customize this results message depending on whether we have errors or we have a success or warning, okay. So let's have a step right at the end saying print results message, okay.